The first time Nia touched that dress, a woman told her that people like her only look, never wear. The last time, 400 people looked at her and could not do anything else. Everything between those two nights is this story. There is a dress in a glass case in a house above Tokyo. Ivory silk, hand-stitched. A river of tiny pearls, sewn one at a time by a woman who went blind finishing it. It is insured for $2 million. It has been worn exactly once, 60 years ago, by a woman named Setsuko Kuroda, on the night she became the most feared woman in the city. After that night it went behind glass. No one wore it again. No one was allowed to. By the end of this, a room full of people who came to watch her fail will forget how to breathe. Before we get into it, if you're here for the ones the world decides to overlook, take a second to subscribe. It helps this channel reach the people who need it. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from tonight. I read every single one. Now, let me tell you who she was before that dress. Nia Adeyemi fixed things no one else could fix. That was her whole life. She was a textile conservator, the person a museum calls when a 400-year-old robe is falling apart and cannot be allowed to. She could reweave a hole you would never find again. She could lift 60 years of smoke off silk without bruising a thread. Her hands were famous, in a small world that paid badly and thanked no one. A private client hired her that spring. The Kuroda family, old Tokyo money, the kind that does not explain where it came from. They had a collection of heirloom garments going on loan to a museum for the family's centennial gala, and the pieces needed a year of quiet, expert work. The centerpiece was the dress, Setsuko's dress, the one behind the glass. Nia did not know what the family was. She found out slowly. The way you notice weather change, the men who were always near the doors, the rooms you did not enter. The grandson, Daichi, who ran everything now. He spoke to no one softly. She kept her head down. She did her work. She was good at not being seen. She had a lot of practice. Because to the Kuroda family, Nia was furniture that could hold a needle. The aunt made that clear in the first week. Her name was Reiko. She ran the family's public face, the parties, the marriages, the appearance of things. She decided what Nia was the moment she saw her. Reiko handed Nia her coat on day one. Without looking, the way you hand a coat to a valet. When Nia said she was the conservator, Reiko smiled and said, "Of course." Then she kept walking. She never used Nia's name once in a year. The indignity that mattered came at a viewing. The family was showing the restored pieces to a few important guests. Nia stood to the side, in her work clothes, were the help stands. She was looking at the dress in its case, the one she had spent 4 months bringing back to life, and she did not hear Reiko come up beside her. Reiko followed her gaze to the dress. Then she said gently, the way you explain something to a child, that it was a beautiful thing, wasn't it? That some people are born to wear such things, and some people are born to look at them through glass. She patted Nia's arm. "There is no shame in the glass," she said. Then she walked back to her guests. Nia said nothing. She had heard versions of it her whole life. She went back to work. What Reiko did not know was that someone had hurt her. Setsuko Kuroda was 91 and dying, and she missed nothing. She was the real old power of that family. The men called Daichi boss. But the men who were afraid of anyone were afraid of Setsuko. She had run things for 40 years before her grandson. She had buried 2 husbands and outlived every enemy she ever made. Now she sat by a window in the East Wing and waited, and the family visited her the way you visit a bank you owe money to. She had watched the foreign girl work for months. She had watched her handle the dress, her dress, with more care than the family had ever shown her. And she had heard, from a doorway they did not know she used, exactly what Reiko said about the glass. The next morning she sent for Nia. After that, Nia spent her afternoons in the East Wing. It started with the dress. Setsuko wanted to watch it being finished. Her own hands shook too badly to hold a needle now, and it turned out she had sewn some of those pearls herself, 60 years before, beside the woman who went blind. So she sat and watched Nia's steady hands do what hers no longer could. And she talked. She told Nia about the night she wore it. She was 29. Her husband's enemies had filled the room, certain they would humble her. She walked in wearing $2 million of silken pearls, and she smiled at every one of them. By the end of the night, she owned 3 of their businesses. "A dress like this is a dare," she told Nia. "It says, 'Look at me,' and try to look away." She taught Nia to prepare tea the old way. She told her which paintings were fakes and which men were cowards. And one afternoon, watching Nia work, she said the thing that changed everything. She said, "You and I are the same. We were both let into the house through the back, and never once thanked for what we held it up with." Nia looked up. Setsuko was already looking at the dress. There was a grandson. Daiichi Kuroda did not do warmth. He had learned young that softness was a thing other people used to find your throat. He ran the largest family in the west of the city, and he had not been seen to smile in public in years. But he came to his grandmother's wing more than he used to. He told himself it was duty. It was not entirely duty. There was a woman there now who treated the most frightening person he knew like a person, who did not flinch when he entered a room, because she did not know enough to be afraid, and had decided on her own that she would not be anyway. He never said any of it. Men like him do not. But Setsuko, who missed nothing, watched her grandson watch the conservator. And an old woman running out of time began, quietly, to make a plan. Reiko had a plan of her own. The centennial gala was coming. 400 guests. Every important family in the city, and a few from cities that mattered more. It was the night the Kuroda family showed its face and its future. And Reiko had decided the future would include a marriage. Daiichi to a woman named Mika, daughter of a family whose money would make theirs untouchable. It was a good match. A clean match. It required the boss to have no other interest. Reiko had noticed the afternoons in the East Wing. She did not like them. So she began, in small ways, to remove Nia. The restoration was nearly done, she reminded people. The contract would end. The girl would go back to her museums. There was no place for a hired hand at a family gala. Reiko said it kindly, always kindly, the way she said everything. Then she scheduled the engagement announcement for the gala itself. Setsuko did not make it to the gala. She died 3 weeks before, in her chair by the window, in the early morning, with the dress in the room because she had asked to have it moved there. Nia was with her. The family was not. In her last clear afternoon, Setsuko had Nia lock the door. She said the dress was going to the museum after the gala, behind glass forever, in another city, where the family would never have to think about it again. That was a waste, she said. A dress like that is a dare, and a dare unspoken is just fabric. Then she told Nia to wear it. To the gala. Her gala. Nia said no. She said all the reasons. It was insured for $2 million. It was not hers. The family would destroy her. It was the most sacred thing in the house, and she was the help. Setsuko took her hand. Her grip was almost nothing now. "I am giving it to you," she said, in writing. "Tonight I have told Tanaka, who has served this house for 50 years, and whose word no one in that room will dare doubt. You will walk in wearing my dare, and every person who looked at you through glass will finally have to look at you. She said one more thing. Do not do it for them, she said. Do it because it is true. Then she signed a paper, and 10 days later she was gone. Here is the part no one planned. Daichi did not know about the dress. He did not know about the paper, or Tanaka, or the last locked afternoon. He only knew his grandmother was dead, and that the one person who had made her last year bearable was about to disappear back into a world he would never find her in. And he had spent his whole life not saying things until it was too late. So he did the bravest thing he had ever done. He invited her to the gala, not as staff, as his guest. He said it badly. Standing in the east wing where his grandmother used to sit. A man who ordered cities around and could not finish a sentence. He said he would like it if she came, as his guest, where everyone could see. He did not know she already had a dress. The gala was held in the old hall, under the portrait of Setsuko Kuroda at 29, wearing the dress. 400 guests. Black suits and cold jewels. Reiko at the center of it, radiant, the announcement folded in her clutch like a knife. Mika beside Daichi, lovely and bored. The whole city, come to watch the family show its face. The doors opened late. Naya walked in alone. She wore ivory silk and a river of pearls, and for one long second no one understood what they were looking at, because the mind refuses a thing it has decided is impossible. They saw a beautiful woman in a beautiful dress. Then someone looked up at the portrait. Then someone else did. And the sound in that room drained away like water from a cracked glass. It was the dress. The dress, off the mannequin, out of the case, out of 60 years behind glass. Walking, breathing, worn, Reiko was the first to move. She crossed the floor fast, her kindness gone at last, and she said it low and vicious. How dare she? A thief. Someone call security. That dress is insured for $2 million, and it belongs to this family, and it is going to a museum, not on the back of the hired. Old Tanaka stepped between them. The steward was 80. He had served Setsuko for 50 years. He held up one hand, and Reiko stopped, because even she did not cross Tanaka. And in front of 400 people, in a voice that carried to the walls, he said the dress had been given. Formally, in writing, witnessed by the late lady of this house, of her own will, to the woman standing in it. He said the lady's exact words, that the dress was a dare, and that she wished it worn one last time by the only person in this house who had ever treated her like a person, and not a door to money. Then Tanaka, who had bowed to 3 generations of Kuroda, turned to the foreign girl in the $2 million dress, and he bowed to her. The room did the only thing it could. It looked at her, and it could not look away. Setsuko had built the dress to do exactly that, 60 years before, and it still worked. Reiko stood alone in the middle of the floor with an engagement in her purse that no one would ever hear announced. The clean marriage, the untouchable money, it needed a boss with no other interest. And the whole room had just watched his grandmother reach out of the grave to point at the woman he wanted. There was no version of the evening left where Reiko won. She understood it the way she understood everything. Quickly and completely. And for the first time in a year, she had nothing kind to say. Daichi had not moved. He was looking at the dress from his grandmother's portrait, alive on the woman he had been too much of a coward to speak to for a year, and something in his face broke open that no one in that room had ever seen. He crossed the floor, past Reiko, past Mika, past every important family in the city. He stopped in front of Nia, and the most feared man in the west of Tokyo, in front of 400 people, bowed to her too. Then he said, "My grandmother chose well." His voice was not steady. I should have said so a year ago. They had told her she was born to look at beautiful things through glass. Now the whole room stood behind the glass. She was the beautiful thing, and not one of them could reach her. Nia did not gloat. She had learned that from Setsuko in the East Wing over tea. She simply stood in the dead woman's dare and let them look, the way the old woman had wanted. Then she found the one person in the room who mattered to her. Not Daichi, not yet. The old steward, Tanaka, who had bowed to her when no one else would. She took his arm, and she asked him quietly to walk her to the portrait, so she could stand a moment beneath the woman who gave her the dress. The room parted for them. Of course it did. That was 2 years ago. The dress did not go to the museum. It hangs now in the East Wing, out of its case, in the room where Setsuko used to sit, because Nia said a dare belongs where it can still be taken. Reiko lives in another city, and the family does not discuss her. Mika married better than Daichi anyway, and sends a cold card at New Year. And Daichi Kuroda learned to say things before it was too late. Slowly. Badly. Then less badly. Because the woman he married has no patience for men who wait a year. Nia still fixes things no one else can fix. She just does it now from a house above Tokyo, with a $2 million dress hanging where she can see it while she works. People ask her if the gala felt like revenge, walking in, watching them realize. She tells them it was never revenge. Revenge is loud. This was quiet. This was an old woman who spent her life being let in through the back, reaching forward 60 years to make sure one more girl got to come through the front. Once, in the light, where everyone had to see. Here is what that world never understands about beautiful things. They think a treasure is what you lock away. They put it behind glass. They decide who is allowed to touch it, and the answer is almost always no one. They confuse keeping a thing safe with keeping it dead. But a dress is not a treasure in a case. A dress is a dare. So is a person. Never tell someone they were born to look through glass. Some of them were born to walk in and break it. If one moment in this stopped you, the old steward's bow, the words from the locked afternoon, the walk to the portrait, tell me which one in the comments. I want to know what stayed with you. And if you know someone the world decided to leave outside the glass, send this to them tonight. Some people just need to hear that the door was always theirs to walk through.